Please come to order. Good morning. Welcome to the Commissioner of St. Mary's County meeting this date, Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. I am Randy Guy, President of the Commissioners of St. Mary's County. I'd like to introduce the other commissioners. Sitting to my right, representing the 1st Commissioner District, which includes Ridge, Piney Point, St. George Island, Mr. Eric Colvin.
Good morning.
Representing the 2nd Commissioner District, which includes Leonardtown, Hollywood, Mr. Mike Hewitt.
Good morning.
Sitting to my left, representing the 3rd Commissioner District, which includes Charlotte Hall, 7th District, Golden Beach, and Mechanicsville, Mr. John O'Connor.
Good morning.
Representing the 4th Commissioner District, which includes Lexington Park, some of California, Great Mills, and some of Hollywood, Mr. Todd Morgan. David Weiskopf, our County Attorney and Acting County Administrator, is sitting to the table to my left.
Morning.
Elisa Cassis, our Communications Director, is sitting to the table to my right.
Good morning.
Amy Carter, our Video Media Producer, is behind the glass. Please turn your cell phones off or on vibrate. When you come to the presenters table, please approach by coming down the center aisle. And remember, this meeting is being televised, so you need to speak clearly and directly into the microphone for recording purposes. At this time, please stand for the invocation and pledge by Commissioner Hewitt.
Dear Lord, thank you for this beautiful day. It's a beautiful one out there today. It's been a little cold, but we know it's winter, but we're looking forward to spring. Please, give us the wisdom to make the right decisions, the courage to follow through, and to do the best thing for the people we serve. All in your name, amen.
Amen.
Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Next, I need the approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Our first and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we have the annual recognition for citizens members of boards, committees, and commissions. Unfortunately, because of COVID, we sort of canceled any formal presentation, so the certificates are being mailed to recipients. Each commissioner will read a list of board members. We'll have to start with Commissioner Colvin. You'll start it.
Very good. Thank you. So thank you to all of the volunteers who serve on these boards and commissions. The Adult Public Guardianship Review Board, Mike Brown, Dr. Joseph L. Davidis, Sherry L. Pierce, Kathleen Werner, Dr. Renee E. Grace. The Agricultural, Seafood, and Forestry Board, James B. Norris, Jr., Caitlin M. Frere, Phil Langley, Michael Sirk, Joseph W. Wood, Richard A. Polk, Bonnie Brown, Stephen T. Reeves, Scott C. Bacon, Philip Dorsey, Charlie W. Mattingly. Airport Advisory Board, Stephen Palmer, Gerald Edward Meyerman, George C. Hill, Henry C. T. Sahut, Albert R. Babcock, Robert M. Lightstone, James E. Alexander, Brian Barthelme Jr., Robert Zworsky. Animal Control Advisory Board, Rita Weaver, Dr. David Langford, Melissa Carnes, Dr. Patricia M. Richardson, Melinda Brown, Stephen Tuttle, Diane Harris, Susan Morris, Cesar Afanador. Board of Appeals, Rich Richardson, Ronald Payne Sr., Guy V. Bradley III, Daniel F. Ikonowski, John E. Brown, Wayne Medinsky, Lynn Delahaye. Board of Trustees Museum Division, Michael L. Blackwell, Robin Finicum, Victor Grover, Dr. Catherine A. Bowes, Laura Ab Fries, Dr. Walter D. Boswell, Michael D. Brown, Carla A. Langhus, Amy M. Davis, Lynn Futrell, Mary J. Pettit, Dr. Regina M. Fadden. Thank you all.
Thanks, Commissioner Hewitt.
I again want to thank the people who serve on these boards. Lord knows they're all volunteers, and I'm always amazed at the sheer number of people who volunteer. But thank you very much. Building Code Board of Appeals, James Danny Johnson, Wayne P. Hunt, Michael J. Mumar, Donald Haskin, Stephen Wilson. Commission for Women, Stephanie M. Storm, Carolyn L. Guy, Catherine A. Stewart, Marta Kelsey, Juanita Neither, Norma Pipkin, Catherine M. Stone, Taylor R. Spencer, Kimberly Bannister, Jasmine A. Bottoms, Kathleen Warner. Commission on Aging, Christine M. Morgan, Thomas J. Ridley Jr., Janet Newman, Marie A. Bennett, Rowena N. Basario, Carolyn L. Guy, Veda Willis, Catherine L. Buckler, Omingo O. Osimi, Janet L. Perryman, Virginia Morris, Dr. Walter D. Boswell, Gail Murdoch. Commission on People with Disabilities, Cheryl St. Clair, Keegan Zimmerman, Ian Fairclough, James P. Stober, Jr., Brad Hamlet, Philip E. Horn, Susie Fowler, Jennifer Randolph, Jacqueline Hall, Barbara G. Hess. Commission on the Environment, Scott F. Clark, Christina V. Perez, Thomas Brewer, Molly Bourne, Norman L. Dean, Jr., George Thompson, Kristen Whitesell, Melissa L. Rodriguez.
Next, Commissioner O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you very much to all of our volunteers. Economic Development Commission, Tricia R. Post, John Barr Jr., Phil Langley, Phil Dorsey, Lisa Creason, Elizabeth C. Torgerson, Gerald Edward Meyerman, Teresa A. Mitchell, Barbara Ivy, Tristan J. Marino, Tom Sanders, Laura Clark, Curtis Brown, Dr. Dale L. Moore, Brooke Higgs Turner. Our Electrical Examiners Board, James Danny Johnson, Robert Spence, Ronald L. Fettiplace, Ron Derby, Donald Haskin. Elms Advisory Committee, Charles Cameron, George Baroniak. Our Emergency Services Board, Mock Mattingly III, Gary Bell, Nick Harrison, Hattie Norris, Ken Hicks, Chief Sean Davidson, Jason Adams, C.P. Medinsky, J.A. Nelson, Carol Bohm, Ernest Rogers, Rocky Woodburn, Stephen Fassini, Jessica Myers. Our Ethics Commission, David L. Willenborg, Dr. Joseph L. DeVitas, Kathleen McLernan Walls, Reverend Lawrence H. Crabtree, Joseph I. Russell, Jean Marie H. Hansen. Our Family Violence Coordinating Council, Reverend Lawrence H. Crabtree, Tania Caesar, Kathleen Werner, Catherine M. Stone, and Taylor R. Spencer.
Commissioner Morgan.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I also like to congratulate and thank all of our volunteers. This will be the last time I read a list like this, but it's been great work with you guys. The Historic Preservation Commission, Robert J. Hurry, Mary C. McKay, Teresa Wilson, Ginger Newman Askew, Eve Love, Kent Randall, Annabelle Delgado, Craig Usk. The Housing Authority Board, Joshua Brewer, Natalie Weech, Tina Dean, Aaron Ramos, Roy Alvey, Alexis Zoss, Michelle Bellis. Our Human Relations Commission, Max Leverschauer, Joshua Brewster, Shemaine Frisbee Spencer, Sean Wickers, Ann Davis, Ashley Rayleigh, Adrian Dillahunt, Jesus Godinez, I apologize for butchering that up, Vontae Burks, Steve Hall, Joanna Colvin. Length of Service Award, Mr. John Walters, Mary Ann Murray. Our Larry Burry Board of Trustees, John Johnston, Thomas Russell, John Walters, Sandra Haltenstein, Carolyn Guy, Michael Dunn, Teresa Setlak, James Hanley, Janice Wallflower. The Local Management Board, Anna Cotton, Troy Callan, Celia Engel. The Metropolitan Commission Board, Robert Russell, Joseph Russell, Rudolph Fairfax, AKA Keith Fairfax, Gerald Edward Meyerman, Keith Dugan, Dale Antosh, George Thompson, and Roy Alvey. And to our Planning Commission, Joe St. Clair, Kim Summers, Merle Evans, Joe Van Kirk, William Hall III, AKA BJ, Patricia Robrick, James Howard Thompson, and Joseph Fazekas. Thank you very much.
Thank you, dear commissioners. And I want to express my gratitude for all those who do volunteer. These are like the eyes and ears of the commissioners. We'd like to hear from all of them with their advice. We're just receiving now their year-end report. These are important things that help us. We can't do everything in the community, and this advice helps us out a lot in making decisions, and we expect these boards to do everything they can to try to get information to us as soon as possible so we can help make decisions for our citizens. First thing is the Plumbing Gas Fuel Board. John Fullhart, Daniel Garrison, Richard Montgomery. The Property Tax Assessment Appeal Board, Karen Bailey, Max LeVar, Joseph Gardner. Recreation and Parks Board, Glenn Leonard, Patrick Murphy, Donald DeGraves, Fred Parker, Gregory Weaver, Catherine Weatherly, Chanda Norton, Joshua Schaefer, Christine Cayley. Redistricting Committee, Dr. Richardson, Patricia Richardson, Lance Johnson, Paul Thompson, Matthew Bergman, and Richard Johnson. Retiree Benefit Trust of St. Mary's County, Scott Ostro, Mary Ann Murray. Sheriff's Office Retirement Plan Board, John Walters. Social Services Board, Kyle Bishop, Anthony Branch, Thomas Hendrick, Michael Blackwell, Adam Dyson, Jeffrey Gibson. Anita Wood, Richard Buckler, Lynn Fattrell, Alicia Stack. Transportation Advisory Committee, Guy V. Bradley III, Adam L. Dyson, Lamal Proctor, William Hill. Tri-County Animal Shelter, Brooks Higgs Turner, Malaya Darris, Diane Harris, and Robert McGowan. Waikamo Shores Golf Advisory Board, Thomas Eccles, Terry Black, Patrick Dugan, Peter Delman, Gregory Weaver, David Vellum, Jim Hodges, Bernard Nealon. Youth Advisory Committee, Rebecca Majay, Mikhail Hayden, Scott Clark, Joshua Guy, Deborah Heidenberg, Lamont Lee, Marie Anna, and Brene Schubert. All these people with gratitude from us as county commissioners. And for those of you who are interested in these boards, please take the time to go online and volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers to fill these as their terms are limited. Thank you very much. Hands. All these people. Certificates will be mailed to you. Unfortunately, we couldn't have a ceremony this year, but hopefully next year things will be opened up. Great. Okay, on the main agenda, we have the Office of County Attorney request for public hearing, resolution to establish St. Mary's County Police Accountability Board and St. Mary's County Administrative Charging Committee. I think Mr. Wyckoff had dedicated.
Yes, Deputy County Attorney Neil Murphy will present.
Neil Murphy. Thank you, Neil.
Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm here this morning to request a public hearing for March 1st for the establishment of the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee. Back in September of last year, Sheriff Cameron and David Weiskopf talked at length with the commissioners about the requirements for the board. Following that conversation, we wrote a letter, an opinion to the Attorney General, who determined that it was up to the commissioners to appoint the members of the Police Accountability Board and the Administrative Charging Committee. So for that reason, we're coming together asking for a public hearing for March 1st for the resolution, and then the boards would begin on July 1st of this year. So just as a brief timeline, we're here for the request, for the public hearing, and then public notices go out in a couple days, or actually in a couple days in the following week. And then we'd have the public hearing, as I said, on March 1st at 6:30, given that we anticipate a higher number of participants, or at least.
Do we have to have do we have to have an evening meeting for this?
No, it can be morning as well. We just probably shouldn't assume. We should leave it up to you guys. But this one, we've already fielded a couple calls and emails about people interested in it. So we just assume because of the public interest, you guys might consider a night meeting. But it's certainly up to you guys.
The other thing we're doing here is approving a resolution
Yes.
to do this. We're not asking for input about members yet.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's-
correct. This is not for who gets to serve on the board. This is just to create it.
Yeah, I think a daytime would be.
I think morning
How
would be
much
fine.
flexibility do we have in the organization of this board? is it totally laid out in state law, or?
So it's a little bit laid out. There are other counties, so most importantly, the membership of the Police Accountability Board and Administrative Charging Committee have to make up the diversity of the county. Other counties, I believe it was Charles or Calvert, but I think it might have been Calvert, enumerated X number of different ethnicities. We decided.
If I could interrupt, Neil, just for 1 second, I apologize. What the House Bill 670 does is tells us that the Administrative Charging Committee is 5 people, and it tells us who they are. I think the board gets 2 picks, the PAB board gets 2 picks, and then one is the chairman or designee of the PAB. And then for the terms of the PAB, that is more open. We went with 5, it could be 7, it could be 12, it could be 20. That number is up to you, as is how you make up the diversity of that board.
Mr. Weisskopf, PAB, Police Accountability
Police Accountability Board, yes, sir.
And that's a group that's currently existing?
No, sir, we're going to create this.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we'd have to appoint that board so they could pick people too.
Yes, because that board will have to pick 2 people for, if I'm recalling correctly, 2 people for the Administrative Charging Committee. The way it's made up is the Police Accountability Board, I believe, will meet about 4 times a year, and the chairman has some heavy responsibilities and heavy duties, and the chairman will get investigations from the sheriff's office or from citizen complaints, and then forward them to the Administrative Charging Committee. The Administrative Charging Committee, my assumption, will probably meet once a month because, of the heavy, workload they'll have. So
it's not a board to be taken very lightly.
no.
It's like one of the more serious, like stuff with the Planning Commission and Board of Appeals.
Part of what I read what you gave me, and I appreciate that very much. But just for the public's edification, and mine too, tell you the truth, are we limited in the people we can pick? Do they have to have some kind of a police background? Can we pick somebody from different groups within the community, whether it be the NAACP?
no, they certainly don't have to have a police background. I mean, I'm sure you might pick, again, completely up to you, but, if you picked if the PAB was nothing but people with police backgrounds,
Yeah.
right, the citizens would probably have something to say, but no, from all walks of life.
The one thing I want to make sure when we're looking at this board is staying away from interest groups in the county. And the reason for that is most interest groups or special interest groups have their own political agendas where they may be pushing it in other places. And what we don't want to see carry over into any type of hearing board or charging committee is a political agenda from a group, regardless of who that is. It doesn't necessarily mean that they couldn't be associated with that group, but what I would like to avoid is that if they're sitting on the executive committee, participating in legislative affairs or lobbying, that they would be excluded from sitting on the board. They have to remain in a neutral position when sitting on this board. This is a very serious board. Like Commissioner Morgan said, it's you're holding the not only the agency, but the county and the officer responsible in one way or another for an action they may or may not have done. Essentially, I could probably equate this board to a courtroom with a judge. I mean, it can be that serious the way it was set up. So we need to make sure that when we're doing this, that it's laid out appropriately, that we're ensuring there's no conflicts. I think that's just from my opinion.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah,
But I think right now, we're just dealing with an issue here of having a public hearing for the resolution to even start the process.
That's exactly
And in the resolution, we did mention that they would have to abide by the St. Mary's County Code of Ethics.
Correct.
Chapter 158. Mhm.
Yeah.
Would there be any limitations on people who can make these decisions from this board? I know we have one commissioner who's a police officer. I mean, I always say that, I get it.
Yep. I'm a deputy chief of police in District Heights Police Department. It has no conflict. Come on, every single time this
Let
comes
him
up.
finish. I don't think that's what he was addressing.
What I'm getting at is, if there are going to be some kind of rules per se on what kind of background you have, and look, if we have someone who has spouse that works on the police department that could be impacted by this, the appearance of an impropriety is worse than if there is
Here
one.
we go. File an ethics complaint, Mike. I've had it with you. You filed like 4 of them on me, okay? Leave
I've
my
never
wife
filed-
Wait a minute, Commissioner. Ho, ho,
out
ho, ho, ho,
of your
ho.
mouth.
Commissioners,
Keep my
Commissioners.
family out of your mouth.
Commissioners,
I've had it with
enough,
you.
enough. Okay. I need a motion.
Other quick question. St. Mary's County Office of Law, County Attorney's Office?
That's right.
Okay. Just making sure I understood that.
That was part of the reason for hiring Mr. Hauser full-time, is this is going to be his responsibility. And
Good,
Well,
good.
I'll move to approve and authorize the Office of County Attorney to schedule a public hearing for March 1, 2022, at 6:30 PM to consider the resolution to establish St. Mary's County Police Accountability Board and the St. Mary's County Administrative Charging Committee.
Second.
apologies, I think you guys wanted it for the morning, not the evening.
Morning, yes.
You want to the morning? You don't think it'd be
No, no.
well attended
This,
at night?
we're just establishing, this resolution is between, we're establishing a resolution. This has nothing to do with appointing anybody at this time.
But
I think a
but
morning
we
is
don't
fine.
have a public hearing when we appoint people. This is the only chance the community has to provide input to the resolution and how the board's set up. So I think an evening one makes more sense.
Everybody agree with that? Evening then?
I like evening, too.
You want evening?
with evening.
Oh, whatever.
Evening? Okay, I'm sorry.
Apologies.
I've been overridden. Evening sounds fine. So, you know, what's 6,
Second, right?
and that's a 6:30 PM?
That's correct, here in this room.
Okay, good. Have a first and second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Okay, next we have the Department of Finance request for public hearing supplemental appropriations ordinance. Ms. Jeanette Cudmore, Chief Financial Officer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is something, we did this last year for about $8 million, so this is a little bit less. I am here to request a public hearing on March 1st for supplemental appropriation to the FY22 budget. Section 27.9 of the Code of St. Mary's County authorizes and empowers the Commissioners of St. Mary's County, upon the recommendation of the CFO, to make additional supplementary or emergency appropriations from contingent funds, provided that the CFO first certify in writing that such funds are available for such appropriation. The funding will be grant funding, being allocated from either state or federal sources. In accordance with Resolution 2016-6, the public hearing is held open for 7 days for written comment prior to being placed on the Commissioner's agenda. The FY22 budget included $1.5 million in appropriation reserve to provide budget authority for additional grants or other revenue that may come forward during the fiscal year. There were 3 large additional revenue that used up our current reserve, $398,970 for the CSM Wellness Center, $625,000 for the Aging and Community Services CBDG Block Grant 2, and most recently, the $200,000 for the Charlotte Hall Veterans Home Ambulance. In preparation of upcoming grant awards in FY22, a supplemental appropriation totaling $4 million is needed to have sufficient budget authority to move forward with the anticipated grants. To date, the anticipated grants include $2 million ERAP letter of interest that was on the October 19, 2021 agenda. The award has not come forward, so we want to be prepared for when that award does come forward, and then any other additional grants that may come forward through June 30, 2022. Our current authority is exhausted. A supplemental appropriation requires legal advertising and a public hearing to allow for appropriate budget authority prior to accepting the grant funding. The proposed timeline is today, requesting the public hearing, advertising on February 11th and 18th, the hearing on March 1st, March 8th, public comment period ends, and then come back to you on March 15th for your decision, the ordinance, and the budget amendment approval.
Okay,
I think a morning one would be all right with
Morning?
this one.
Yeah.
so,
I moved to, go ahead.
I just had one question.
Yes.
Tell me, we're looking for, looks like $1.5 million. Why are we doing $4 million?
Well, just in case anything else comes through. With the COVID grants and any other grants, I mean, they've been pretty large. So, and I'm not aware of any right now. I do know that Mr. Kelly had a $2 million broadband grant, and we haven't heard when exactly that is also going to be awarded, whether that's going to be at the end of FY22 or in the FY23 budget. So I just want to make sure that grant is, we can take care of that also. And there's other grants that come forward.
You wouldn't start spending money before the grant's approved, would you, or before the grant?
No, not until we have the actual appropriation, the budget authority in that grant.
Okay, so
We don't spend until we have the authority.
So the $2.5 million over the 1.5 would be for flexibility for something else we've agreed to do?
In case something else comes out or comes forward to the county where we need to accept it. And then we have to have authority to spend it.
Okay, I don't oppose it, I'll vote for it. I just don't understand why we're asking for so much more than we need.
Right. And if we don't need it, it'll just drop to fund balance. And this is not fund balance. It'll just be, we won't need it. It doesn't impact anything at all.
All right.
Just authority.
Good.
Okay.
Good.
All right, I move to hold a public morning hearing on March 1st, authorizing a $4 million supplemental appropriation for FY 2022 grant revenue funds.
Second.
I have a first and a second.
I'm sorry, we do need to be specific as to the time.
9:30 a.m.?
9:30 a.m.
Okay.
Friendly second to your amendment.
9:30, okay. Got a first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cudmore.
Thank you.
Okay, next we move into legislation. It looks like you're up again.
Apologies, Mr. Hauser's out sick today, so.
Got sick today. Uh-oh. You got to throw it all on you, everything today, huh?
So we wish them the best. Good morning again. So I'm here with the legislative updates. I guess I'm going to be doing this more or less in three parts. First is covering the status of our bills, then the bills that you asked us to follow, and then finally the bills that we thought might be of interest to the commissioners. So looking at the bills from St. Mary's County, beginning with the vehicle registration exception for golf carts, really nothing has changed since we last spoke last week. Again, there's no hearing date set. As for the second bill in the matrix, the Human Relations Commission, originally there was no hearing date set from last week, but within the past couple days, a hearing date was set for March 1st. And concerning polygraphs for EMTs, that one is set for a hearing date in the House at February 8th, which is today at 1 p.m.
Neil, excuse me just for a second. When you started talking about the matrix, are you talking?
Oh, I'm talking about the square.
All right, yeah, because we got new stuff this morning.
Oh, sure.
given to us.
So I'm talking about,
I get it.
I guess Memo 1.
I got the right piece of paper. Thank you.
Sure. So Memo 1 and Memo 2 have the same box on it. Memo 3 concerns some bills that the Farm Bureau wanted us to look at. So Memo 2 actually has all the updates on it, but for our bills, but you can just look at Memo 1 because then I'll be going in that order and just providing updates as necessary. So polygraphs hearing this afternoon at 1. The St. Mary's County tax sales, again, hearing today at 1 as well. And then finally for our bills, the definition of newspaper. Originally there was no hearing date set, but similar to the Human Relations date, it's going to be on March 1st as well. So the only two changes from Memo 1 on the first page are the two hearing dates for the Human Relations Commission, the second one, and then the definition of newspaper, the fifth one. Each of those, the hearing date will be March 1st. And then the next are bills that you not only asked us to follow, but these are ones that letters of support are being requested. The first one is a request from the Farm Bureau concerning motor fuel tax rates. It's a consumer price index adjustment. So right now, fuel is adjusted to inflation, but as we know, inflation is rising. So the idea is to revert the motor fuel tax rate to what is enumerated in the statute, rather than having it go up every year with inflation. This is being requested by the Farm Bureau. There's a hearing this afternoon as well at 2:30 p.m. And then if a letter of support or opposition, I suppose, is approved, we'll send that right away for the hearing this afternoon. And the hearing was in the House back in January on the 19th.
So this bill is also sponsored by our delegate Morgan, so
That's correct.
I support this. I think it's a good
Well,
bill.
I support this one, too. Tell me, though, do farmers or people who use fuel for off-road use, tractors, plow fields, they typically don't pay roadway tax, do they?
Oh, it's a motor fuel tax, you mean?
Yeah, motor fuel tax.
That I don't know. I'm not actually sure.
Because I know on diesel, you can have off-road diesel, or, I just know I had to buy some diesel recently, and
Oh, funny.
there was some, what's their, dyed diesel and undyed.
Oh, interesting.
And I was putting the dyed diesel in, and the lady said, hey, look, that's for farm vehicles. If you're putting that in your truck and you're going to drive on the road,
Oh, sure.
you got to pay a tax on that. So I had to, I only put like 50 cents worth in, so I didn't.
Right.
If it's dyed red, then it's for off-road use only.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the lower tax or no tax. Yeah.
But no tax, I think.
Right.
But again, I support this because I don't believe we should raise taxes every year just to avoid the voting for it. That's what it's designed to do. All right,
Sure.
thank you.
All right, so I move to approve and authorize Commissioner-President Guy to sign the letters of support to House and Senate committees for SB 337, HB 144.
Second.
The way it's written, the motion?
I'm sorry?
Is that, did you read the motion?
That's the way it's
The one in
in
pink,
the packet.
You got it differently written here.
Check the purple.
Okay, I have a first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Ayes have it. I'm just looking at my docs. It's different here.
It is slightly different wording.
Okay.
Same impact.
And then the next is interesting. It's a constitutional amendment concerning beer and wine licenses for retail establishments. So as many of us know, except for a small number of places, but in almost every retail grocery store, you can't buy beer and wine. This would provide for a constitutional amendment. Mr. Weisskopf and I were mentioning why is a constitutional amendment necessary. It's actually adding, I was looking at this, it's adding a section to the Constitution, not changing it. Either way, to allow for the sale of beer and wine in retail grocery stores rather than independent ones outside of a grocery store. So the Alcohol Beverage Board has not met to discuss this yet. Slight echo.
They're meeting tomorrow.
That's exactly right. So actually, they may be meeting on the 9th or the 10th. I think it may be the 10th on Thursday. But if you have another date, that certainly could be correct. A DED, so our DED, said they would be neutral as to this because it would help some businesses like large grocery stores or just grocery stores, but may hurt the small independent mom and pop shops. There is a hearing on February 21st about this, so we have some time and maybe wait for the ABB the Alcohol Beverage Board, rather, to voice their concerns. But we do have a motion for consideration if you wanted to.
I'll just tell you, I don't support this.
I agree with Commissioner Colvin. This is totally would go against our small businesses who are active in the retail alcohol business, well, the big box stores to come in and sell. That would hurt our small businesses tremendously. And I'm not waiting for the ABB to sit there and give me an opinion. I'm saying no.
Yeah, I think Mr. Denton is here from the Beverage Association. He reached out to me yesterday evening, and the point is that they oppose it. Now, I'm not sure if they oppose it. He's here and he can speak for himself. But my point is that there's a term called the general good. What is good for the public good? And I had a little experience with this over 20 years ago when Sheetz wanted to come to St. Mary's County. And there was a local jobber, a birch oil company president who was opposed to it, and he filed a case against it, saying that it would hurt the local jobbers because these people can sell for lower prices and this and that. And it went to court, and the judge in that case ruled that the benefit to the public, overall public, was greater than the detriment to the individual jobbers or the smaller people. So we got to be careful here, is my point. I don't support this. I do support, I don't know if I like Walmart store having liquor in there. I worry about the number of liquor license we'd have to have, the amount of enforcement we'd have to entail that go along with it. It just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So I'd like to, I agree with the other two commissioners that we hold off considering this. But if Mr. Dent...
When's the next hearing on this, Tom?
Certainly, the next hearing is on the 21st.
21st, so we have
So we still have
time.
time to send a letter of opposition.
That's exactly
The
right.
liquor board meets tomorrow, so they'll come up with theirs. I'm personally opposed to it myself, but they being a small rural county, of in the big thing. In the General Assembly, I think this is probably going to pass, but I don't know. I think we get enough opposition
Got
to
a
it.
strong lobbying effort.
Yeah,
going for this.
it may not, and unfortunately, most of our surrounding states already allow this, and that's a big problem. So,
Well, here's what I'd say, because Mr. Dent's in the audience, can he give us an input on what the Beverage Association's doing? Is that Mr. Weisskopf?
So, well, it sounds like that. Well, Mr. Dent is certainly welcome to come on up and
Well, just come
speak
up
to you
for
individually.
a minute, because I want to ask you,
It sounds like the
When's your meeting?
board hasn't taken a,
the board hasn't taken it up yet, so I don't know if he can give his input or not.
well, you're the president, right?
Not of the liquor board, of the...
No, the Beverage Association. When do you have a meeting?
Right now, we're having, we're not really having local county meetings. We're having state legislative meetings right now. We meet every Wednesday.
When do you think you'll have a position on this?
We already have a position. We're opposed to it.
Okay.
Oh, well, okay. Then we thought you didn't have a position, sir.
there's a distinction, I think, and I'm sorry, I think what Mr. Murphy was discussing was the alcohol board that Tammy Hildebrand runs. This is the Beverage Association, right? There's two and I apologize for the
Talking
confusion.
about,
The Alcohol Beverage Board, that's exactly right.
thank you for your time, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Dent.
But we figured it out, thank you.
So interestingly, I guess sort of a history on this is the similar bill was presented about 2 years ago, but it either, or actually over the past 2 years, but it was either withdrawn or failed. And this is a slightly different, as it's a constitutional amendment, but just sort of an interesting history. So I'm not sure how it will go, given the history of it.
Well, Commissioners, we can make a motion to oppose it now, or wait until the liquor board meets tomorrow.
Well, let's
Come
wait
up
for
next
liquor
week.
board. We got time, right?
2 weeks, that's correct.
Yeah. So
2 weeks
next
until
week,
the hearing.
we'll know next week for sure.
Absolutely.
But you pretty much, you got an opposition across the board right
Yeah,
now.
I think at least the four of us.
Yeah, so anyway, yeah, okay.
Okay.
Well, then we'll push this off till next week, waiting for the liquor board.
But
Okay.
we'll change that motion to
Opposed?
support.
To oppose, certainly. And then next, it concerns SB 250 through HB 325 concerning state and local procurement and payment practices. Originally, last week, we opposed this, and the following day, MACO spoke in support of it with amendments. So we're now asking that we repeal our prior letter of opposition and write a letter of support with MACO amendments, or to the MACO amendments to this bill. And at this time, MACO is working towards figuring out exactly what the amendments will be, but once they are provided, we'll certainly update you as well.
Now, you go up to Mako on what, Wednesdays, do you guys talk?
Oh, we just call in. right now.
Yeah, but this one has been, I want to hold on our decision on this one. This has been batted back and forth for the last couple of weeks, and not only the rural meeting, but the general meeting as a whole. And it deals literally with the idea that, we would be asked to pay on a time frame and a schedule that is better than the states, and, basically hold the state harmless if they don't pay you, but hold the county in prejudice if they don't pay on
them.
time.
It's the time period of
It's a crazy
payment.
thing.
Yeah, it's a time period of
So don't we
payment.
want to mirror the state, though? Or do we do?
No, you don't want to mirror the state, because what the bill says is that St. Mary's County has X number of days to pay their bills.
And they
But the
don't, they're
state
fine.
doesn't have to pay their bills on time. So if we are owed money, if a contractor comes and says we owe money, we have to pay $1,000. But we have to be reimbursed from the state. It may take them 6 months to reimburse us. So we're on the hook through our budget to pay the bill, whereas the state isn't on the hook to pay us.
So if the state doesn't pay in a timely manner, then we're stuck with paying out of our pocket before we get the money. Understand?
Well, I oppose that too.
And I definitely don't want to send a letter of support for amendments until we see the amendments.
And that's, and we had this discussion last night again on this.
We're still working on that. and
We're
make
waiting to
those-
see the amendments ourselves.
And I think to provide some
When's
context,
the hearing on this one?
a hearing on this is scheduled for the 15th, so next week.
Next Tuesday.
Oh,
Next
scheduled for the
Tuesday.
15th?
Next Tuesday, so.
Oh, my gosh.
Generally, I believe they're in the afternoon, so we would be able to hopefully have the amendments from Mako in
From Mako
time
at that
and then
time.
provide
Okay,
a letter one way
okay.
or the other.
Okay.
And the answer, so at least some idea of what the amendments might be, is that at least it seems that Mako would be proposing amendments to have this apply only to state procurement, not to county procurement.
We may know that tomorrow. We got a meeting with Mako tomorrow, so we
perfect.
may know that then. I don't know. As of last night, no.
Right.
So, got another meeting tomorrow. Just
So-
hold on this one too then, right?
Certainly.
Okay.
And then, so next is, and I suppose the third category are bills that we are tracking or watching. One is that we found concerns the Sauterley Plantation. This would provide for a $500,000 operating grant to the to Sauterley Association, or Historic Sauterley, to operate the farm for design, construction, repair, renovation, and general operations for the plantation. So given the Sauterley's here, we presented it to you with a motion for your consideration. A hearing on this is in 2 weeks.
You know, I'm a neighbor of Sauterley, and I'm not opposed to this at all. But it makes me wonder why we don't do the same thing for the St. Clements Museum out there on the island and other St. Mary's. I guess St. Mary's City gets tons of
Sure.
grants and stuff, but why are we picking this one, or is it something they've put forward?
I think Delegate Crosby put this forward. Is that right?
I can check.
I guess I got it here too.
Well, anyway, I guess I won't oppose it, but it just makes me wonder why we don't.
Crosby, Clark, and Morgan, apology, have put this forward.
Thank you.
Why, it seemed like they ought to add St. Clements Museum to it, too. St.
I
Clements.
agree.
Well, that would be up to the delegates.
Well, maybe we could ask them.
Do that?
And then for this particular one, just hold off on letter of support, or how would you like to proceed?
Well, I move to
At
approve
all.
and authorize Commission President Guy to sign a letter of support to the House and Senate committees for HB 602.
Second.
I have a first and second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
And next concerns hiring practices and the questions that you're able to ask on a job application. So this eliminates the ability for employers to ask certain questions about the educational attainment of a prospective applicant unless and until they've received an initial offer of employment. That's when you can begin to ask the questions concerning what level of education they've attained. So Mako has spoken in opposition to this in part because of they're not sure whether this applies to local governments. In their statement, they stated as such that the language is a little vague. The policy note or the fiscal note says that it doesn't apply to local governments. So this time, I think Mako is supporting or in opposition to it, given the vagueness of the language and whether it would apply to county government, particularly as Mako's position, there are certain types of particularly emergency responding positions where they need to have certain type of education and to attain different types of training and certifications.
Well, it seems to be an expansion of, like last year and the year before, of what they called ban the box, where you couldn't ask questions about somebody's criminal history at the initial stage, but you could certainly ask it at the interview well in advance. I think what Mako is upset about this one is what a waste of time it is, right? If you can't ask somebody's education until you then offer them a job, then if you're not satisfied with that answer, you then would retract it?
So, for instance, we wouldn't be able to ask you if you went to law school. Am I reading that right?
So I'm actually not sure. There seems to be a carve-out if education is required for a professional certification. I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't seem, there may or may not be that carve-out, but interestingly, to Mr. Weiskopf's point, is that there's a provision that once I say, for example, oh, I didn't go to law school, you obtain that information during the interview, you can't then retract the offer of employment. So it's like we can ask, but it doesn't change the fact that there's still an offer.
Does it necessarily say that?
Yeah, it actually does. That's the weird part.
My question would be does it have to be a offer of employment, or can it be a conditional offer of employment, which is typically used to complete a hiring process? Is it that specific?
So if I'm remembering the language correctly, it says an initial offer of employment. So what initial offer of employment means, whether it's a conditional upon figuring out all this other stuff,
Yeah, because if this did come down to the county level, I mean, the other issue I have with this is, like you said, on the emergency services side or public safety, is in order to complete certain portions of the process, you have to have a conditional offer of employment, which is an initial offer of employment. That's what it is. It's an initial conditional offer, and that's what the letter says. So I don't know how you'd not be able to retract that as the employer if you did not meet the qualifications for the actual position. The other thing that I find interesting is bringing up the law degree is while Maryland requires that you go to law school, you pass the bar. The state of Virginia still has it on the books that you can go practice under an attorney for ever how many years, and then you don't have to go to law school necessarily. They can sign off on it. You could take the bar. You may not be able to take the bar in Maryland, but you could actually end up practicing law in Virginia based on your studies with that attorney. Plus, if I wanted to come and work under your license, right, as I'm going to law school, there's lots of underlying implications, and that goes along with it, even clerking for a judge while you're in law school. So I could see why Mako would oppose this one.
Right. The vagueness of it.
It's the vagueness of the bill that Mako is against.
Yes.
It's not really the bill itself, it's just the vagueness of it.
Right, and we don't want to spend a lot of time on ones that probably won't go anywhere, but we just wanted to let you know that we're keeping an eye on these.
Yeah. And Mako is too. Yeah.
That's right. And then the next on the next page concerns community solar energy generating systems and their exemption from energy and property taxes. Mako has expressed their support with amendments of this bill. So these types of things are solar panel or a certain type of solar generating system that provides electricity not just to my house, but to at least 2 or more people, hence the word community before it. And then the next one concerns the State Board of Elections, contracts and invoices and requirements. This alters and sort of overhauls the payment provisions for election systems. So it cleans it up. There used to be this, or there currently is, sort of a complicated formula by which we determine how much we pay to the State Board of Elections for creating certain type of electoral systems. And this, as I said, cleans it up and overhauls it. Mako's in support of it, and this is actually their bill. The next concerns exemptions for business personal property. So these are home businesses. If I buy something to have a home business, this allows me to exempt it from property tax. So this is kind of in response to COVID, a lot of people shifting or maybe losing work because of altering employment situations and starting a home business. This provides them a sort of a tax break.
Well, tell me, people who have a home business, are they required to report personal property that's taxable?
So if it's in support of that business, so the answer is yes, and this would exempt it from personal property
If
tax.
I had a personal computer and I was using it and started a business and I was using my personal computer, that now becomes business property?
If it's, I think there may be a degree to which you can't just like use, I think it requires you to use it for a certain percentage of the time, so I can't just use my computer and then send an email for work and then just keep using my computer and then write it off. Does that make
I
sense?
dealt with personal property business tax for almost 53 years. And not that I don't disagree with it, I think there's some things that need to be changed, but this one just seems a little, I mean, I'll let you go on.
Sure.
Well, you can deduct, at home, you can deduct certain parts. Say you got a home of 3,000 square feet, and you got 100 square feet you use as your business, and whatever is in that room, for example, it's all deductible as far as a business expense. And I think that's what they're trying to shoot at. The language is not sort of a little vague in here, but they're still trying to fine tune it.
That's exactly right.
Because there's so many more home businesses now started than ever before in the last couple of years. It's just getting down to the nitty-gritty here, you might say.
Certainly. And then the next is quite an extensive bill. It's the Climate Solutions Act. There's a similar bill with similar language, House Bill 708. There's currently no hearing on that one, though there is a hearing on this one next week at 1. MACO is not tracking this, but we received an email from the Cove Point Director of External Affairs expressing his opposition to this. Chris Kaslimas was on a call this morning with the Chamber of Commerce. Legislative Committee and the Senate Chamber of Commerce is against this bill as well as the other bill. So just providing you an update.
For everybody's edification here, climate change is one of the big three issues in Annapolis this year. And there are multiple climate change bills going through, all saying something a little bit different. I guess it's makes whoever's sponsor is makes look what I'm doing for you. And MACO's been somewhat reserved on taking positions because they are so varied in nature. Most of these climate change bills are going to cost us, the citizens and the businesses, a lot of money at the end of the day if they go through, simply because of the way the infrastructure is developed and designed. So you're seeing more of this being pushed primarily by the big counties in the middle, and the rural counties have been pretty much opposed to this thing in a lot of our discussions so far. So the Climate Solutions Change Act now of 2022, like I said, how many of these had these discussions, what, for an hour?
Yeah, quite a few.
It just goes on and on and on climate change.
And a lot of these have to do with also forcing government, local government, to build structures based with this latest current type of installation, things like that, that are very expensive when you get down to it, so.
We had this discussion last week on the ability of, a discussion was made on, forcing schools to build and to go green. And we already have our 5-year capital plan for the schools and what we have to do. And quite frankly, if these bills would go through as written, we don't have enough money to satisfy the requirements the schools need if they had to go green. And my concern is, we got to take care of these schools, and green is nice. However, the money isn't there at this point in time to be able to satisfy all those requirements. If that's a fair
That's very fair. Yeah, you could imagine taking a school and making it totally energy efficient. No more fossil fuel. Now, and very little electricity. So that'd be an unbelievable solar project that would be astronomical. Just can't support it.
And the final page on the first memo concerns the change in the way personal property is depreciated. So right now, you can depreciate personal property over an 8-year period. Well, over 8 years it's depreciated, and then it stays at 25% for, I guess, in perpetuity until the thing no longer works.
No, it's even done
Oh, really?
No longer working.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I had my share of that stuff.
Nice. So what this would do is put the depreciation schedules the same as the federal government, which is the same as the Internal Revenue Service schedule, which allows you to depreciate all the way down to zero, rather than keep it at a 25% cap.
Totally agree with this.
I think Mako opposes it, though, is that correct?
They do.
That's correct.
Why does Mako oppose it? That's to undermine county revenue tax structures. Look, we used to buy equipment, and 7 years, 8 years, okay, we could depreciate it. Usually this stuff was obsolete, especially alignment equipment or any kind of computerized equipment. It became obsolete. And what happened is it sat in a corner. And you could dispose of it, but you had to carry that on your depreciation and pay 25%. It was not fair.
On to memo number 2. Thank you, Commissioner. On to memo 2, this has in bold in the box on the front, the hearing dates that I mentioned in the first memo, or going over the first memo. Additional bills that we're tracking provides, the first one on the first page requires cameras to be in self-contained special ed classrooms. Self-contained special ed classrooms are classrooms where it's just the special ed classroom. It's not adjoined by anything else. Right now, Mako is opposing this because of the costs that are required to install a classroom in every self-contained, or install a camera rather, in every self-contained special ed classroom. Montgomery County, Prince George's County, and maybe Anne Arundel provided their estimates for how much it would cost. Montgomery County, I think, said 26 million. Prince George's said 2. I don't know how the numbers are so different, but for such similarly.
The cost is absolutely prohibitive, and I don't think the Board of Ed has budgeted for that, and I hate the thing comes back in MOE as here's another line item, so I'm opposed to just, and there's a privacy issue also that is contained within that hasn't been addressed either, so we could write a letter to oppose, I don't care.
Sounds good to me. Oppose it?
I make the motion to oppose.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a first discussion?
This is, I don't like the cost being passed on, but this is one of our most vulnerable populations that deserve protection. And so that's why I'm hesitant about this bill. If they could fix the way the costs are allocated, then I think it would be a good thing, but I am opposed
What
to
makes you think they're not already protected? What do you think the risk is?
abuse. That's what this bill is set up for, to
Yeah,
protect children from abuse.
I guess, but, right. I guess if we have instances of that, I totally agree.
Right.
So
But I'll support the letter of opposition for the costs, but I do think there's some merit to some of this.
Yeah, have we got a position from the Board of Education on this as well? Because this does affect the school system.
I think indirectly in my conversations, they're not real happy about it either. I don't have anything official.
Yeah, I'd like to get something from the Board of Education on this in writing.
When is the hearing on this? Got a date on it?
So there was a hearing on the House a few days
It's
ago.
already been
and there's
heard.
a hearing next week.
Yeah.
The hearing next week.
Right, so we should be able to get something from the board, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't like the cost associated with it, but I do agree with Commissioner Colvin. There are instances where there is abuse, there is neglect, there is frustrations that are conveyed. People are human, and yeah, it is not easy being an educator in these circumstances sometimes, and not that that's an excuse for anything, but I do understand the premise of this, and agree with Commissioner Colvin that I not only from the vulnerable side, but the fact that, you know, if there's any other instances of things that may have happened in the actual classroom, it could be captured, because it's not just, we're not just saying this is teachers, this is other students, and there needs to be a way to step in and watch that behavior and go ahead and see a way to step in early.
I mean, we put video cameras on buses, so
Yeah. I mean, we got video cameras on cop cars and cops, so that's why I don't see the difference. You know, it's, and with our technology in the school system here, this is just adding a camera to the already sophisticated system they have.
And we can reach out to the board and get their position and bring it back to you all, the Board of Education, that is.
Well, Mr. President, I have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second to oppose. Is that correct? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays?
No.
Ayes have it.
And the next is the expanding the definition of agritourism to include special events conducted on a farm that relates to agricultural activity. And speaking with Chris Casalemas, he's fine with the change.
There's 3 ag tourism bills out there now, all looking to expand the definition of ag tourism, and MACO, for the most part, has been supportive of the ability to expand. So at least that was a discussion last night,
Right, yeah, another one last night.
how it will change tomorrow.
Generally, they're supportive of all the bills.
But the
right
rural
now.
counties have been supportive of ag tourism expansion words.
Certainly. And I should have prefaced the discussion on this and the remainder of the bills. All of this and the remainder of the bills are all sponsored by the local delegation. So these are ones, sort of a subcategory of the ones that we
They signed up
give
to
interest.
support it.
Exactly. So this one was sponsored by Delegate Morgan and others.
Okay.
Next concerns the providing or allowing for a stop work order by the Commission on Labor and Industry to issue stop work order if it's been determined that a subcontractor on a job site is not paying the prevailing wage to workers. So as of now, you can just withhold progress payments, but this actually allows a stop work order to be placed on the job site until people are being paid properly or the case has been adjudicated.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, fine. No.
I can say I'm against this bill, and this was a big debate last week at the MACO. And it was basically, it boiled down to a vote of counties, and it was a 10-7 vote at the end with their, I'll use the rural counties prevailing, because quite frankly, it's hard for many of the rural counties to have the finances to do and pay for the prevailing wage provisions that the larger counties have the ability to get. And I will read to you the fiscal summary that came out of the thing. It says, imposition of stock work order says the potential to disrupt and even derail public works and infrastructure projects, likely increasing the cost of those projects. A reliable estimate is not feasible as it depends on the duration of the stop work orders. The effects of the project completion, timelines, and potential for contract or project cancellations resulting in orders MDL and MSBCA may require additional staff to implement the bill's requirements, but a reliable estimate is not feasible as discussed below. The penalty is not expected to be material affecting state revenues. The local effect, the imposition of stop work orders on local projects has the potential to have the same disruptive effects on state-run projects discussed above. Small business effect, potential meaningful. I'm opposed to this bill.
I'm opposed also. And MACO opposed it.
Well, tell me, Commissioner Morgan, Commissioner Guy, so we're talking Davis-Bacon? So if it's state-funded, I know federal, anything federal money is Davis-Bacon wages. So they're saying the same thing for state projects?
Yes,
Yes. Very true.
and local projects, anything. So
Any
I
local
would
projects.
oppose that bill.
Oh, and local projects too?
Yes.
Yes.
So I think that this bill is on face value. I understand what they're trying to do. You know, prevailing wage is the average wage for similarly employed persons in the field. Minimum wage has gone up to, I think it's going to be going up to like 15 something. Either way. I do believe, after doing further reading on this, the intent of this is to stop the exploitation of those that are here on work permits, that may be fearful of reporting to agencies because they may feel that they're going to get deported if they make waves. It also exploits our vulnerable population of those that have mental and physical disabilities, because they are mostly taken advantage of in these situations as well. So that's why I can see the intent of this bill, because the common thing is what contractors will do is they'll pick up day laborers and then use them on the contract site, pay them minimal amount of funding, and then they pocket the overhead from that. So I do believe that's what this is trying to actually stop. You know, it makes sense to me. You know, it truly does. Whether it's an impact across the board and it raises projects up, well, the cost of the projects are on the backs of the people that are having their rights violated. You know, that's the way I kind of look at it. Is there any amendments that you've seen proposed for this?
I've not heard of any yet.
Okay.
I just know that for the most part, the rural counties have been opposed to prevailing wage because they just don't have the cash in their project, in their budget to pay those differentials.
I think most of it's already in the contract. When they bid, they bid the total price of what the contract should be based on those wages. I think the intent that is here is that they're illegally hiring subcontractors to work at a lower rate and then pocketing the cash is after reading this entire bill, that's the intent. You could almost call this an anti-discrimination, or equal employment bill. Yeah.
Any more discussions?
Yeah.
Do we support Mako's opposition? Do we have to send a letter of support or non-support for this?
We haven't sent anything. There was a hearing held on the House bill, and then there's a hearing on the Senate bill in 2 days at 1. Mako has not
I
presented a
don't,
position
yeah,
yet.
they're opposed to it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
So I don't know if we need to really move forward with any kind of a position from us.
I would say
I don't mind
just let
supporting Mako. Mako's position is no.
Or Mako's position, I think would be more than enough.
And we do that through our Mako membership anyway, right?
Pardon?
We already do that through our Mako membership?
It's already heard last week,
Oh, okay.
in its opposition, they're opposed. Any more discussions on that? Or, okay. Anything else?
Yes, a couple more. So not on that bill, but on 2 more bills.
Okay.
And then we're done. Actually, technically 3, because we got some last night from the Farm Bureau.
Okay.
So next concerns some money that the state treasurer would be able to give the counties, or they would be able to, issue up to $177 million of state bonds for base infrastructure improvements or expansion development. So this would allow us to help protect against maybe future BRAC related issues. And last year, it looks like 13 grants were awarded nationally. So this is in the bolded part, including one to St. Mary's of $395,000 for an otherwise $564,000 project around Route 235 for to install gates at Pax River. So this is presented by Delegate Crosby and might, again, as I said, help against future BRAC or base realignment issues.
I don't get it. I mean,
I don't either.
trust me, I've done this BRAC thing since whenever we started.
I think 95 is when BRAC.
Yeah, I mean, it goes back a long ways, and I don't understand why the state would be, a BRAC is an animal to itself, and we get that. But I don't understand why the state would be offering up $177 million per se in bonds to help the biggest budget of anything the nation has is defense. And I don't get it. And why should the taxpayers be paying money to support bond issues where the military has plenty of money? It's just how they decide to appropriate and authorize the money. It shouldn't be the counties or the states.
But I think these are for projects off base.
That's not defined. That's the problem. It's just a general obligation model, $177 million to, the DSIP project was at $375,000.
All right.
But $177 million of taxpayer dollars to support projects the military can't get through?
But I guess, maybe I see it differently. This sidewalk wouldn't be something that they would be putting in. That would be something that.
But there's already DSIP.
Anyway.
The base already, the Navy already has the ability here to apply for DSIP dollars, which we've discussed many times here. But $177 million 2, then go to MMIC and have MMIC sort of be the advocate or the adjunct general to figure out who gets what?
Well, I guess my point is, Mako has no position, why's that?
I have no idea. We haven't even heard this bill, have we?
Nope.
Does it have a
Just might even-
sponsor?
Make them not even following it. Who's sponsoring it?
Delegate Crosby.
I think it's funny, Doug Crosby has a whole bunch of bills, yet he sat here and has no bills.
Well, we asked that specific question, are there any bills that you're going to pass or bring up? And,
Said no.
No.
yeah, well, he didn't say no, he did the lawyerly response and said,
last two we just had-
not at this time.
Not at this time, okay.
Again, I guess, figure out what Mako's going to do. Maybe it can help us.
We will discuss, I will bring that up
We'll
tomorrow.
bring it up tomorrow maybe and
Yeah.
see what that, I don't think they're following it, but I don't know. We'll see.
Well, what I see here is some underlying current, and while I believe that it's focused on the installation, it's also focused off the installation, but the underlying current I see here, when you talk about BRAC and other items, is that this is a statewide bill with a St. Mary's County-centric focus in order to facilitate possible funding for YMCA and/or any other facility surrounding us. Again, it's a bill that, if it was going to be passed, would have been nice to have a conversation on, because we could have asked for specific funding through that. But this is the undercurrent of this bill, and that's why I do believe that Delegate Crosby has put it forward. You could probably just find a spot and write YMCA Community Center in here, and there you have it. Because I guess the next step would be to levy the funding in the next session. So either way, I can't blame him for trying. Good job.
When's the hearing, Neil?
It was on the 25th of January.
Okay, so obviously,
In the House bill.
it got through first read
Right.
easily. Since it went to the committee where he's the deputy chairman, that isn't a hard one to figure out. I haven't heard anything from the Senate side.
Right.
I don't believe there's a Senate sponsor on this, is there?
We couldn't find one.
That's
We
what I
found this, yeah, we found this yesterday. So in preparation for this, I believe Angela, John, and I, maybe it was just Angela and John, considered looking up the bill, or maybe David, I don't remember. It was somebody in our office, considered looking up the bills that were sponsored by the delegation, and this is what we found.
Yeah. Ultimately, we're looking just to hit this home. With this bill, if I am correct on my undercurrent, we're talking already here about 16 million of St. Mary's County taxpayers. If this is the intent, Delegate Crosby's trying to make the entire state of Maryland pay for our community center. So I don't think it's fair to the rest of the state of Maryland when we're looking at this. I just like to see what his true position is, which we probably won't get, but that's fine. I respect it, been working with him, I get how he is, so.
Why don't we, ready to discuss this yesterday with the MECO?
Yeah, tomorrow.
Yeah, please.
That's what make it tomorrow.
Please.
Bring it up to them and see what.
We will.
If
Yeah.
they can, do they have any co-sponsors on there at all?
It was just Delegate Crosby.
Just him?
And then the final bill for memo number 2 concerns a similar idea in a way, but it's grants rather than bonds, so I guess very different, but for transportation grants beginning in 2025 from a gas and motor vehicle revenue account. So this would greatly increase the amount of revenue for these types of projects available in St. Mary's County. The last paragraph on the page describes the amount over the state that would be available, 82 million in fiscal year 25, 83 in FY 26, and it continues to increase. And I was sponsored by Delegate Morgan, Senator Bailey, and others. No hearing date is on the House bill, but a hearing is tomorrow at 1 p.m. on the Senate bill. Mako supported with amendments.
Mako what?
Supported with amendments, sorry.
What this basically says is they're trying to draft legislation that will allow us to get our highway revenues back versus it being, shifted away. So this bill literally is to try to help us get more money to
Back to
fix
the
our roads.
2008 standards that were cut right in half back at that time. Trying to get us back up to 2008 standards.
That's right. And then finally, memo number 3. So this came, and we apologize for the late delivery to you, but we received late afternoon three bills that the Farm Bureau wanted us to look at in request for letters of support. The first one we already did, and that was Senate Bill 378 concerning funding for SMATIC. We sent a letter, or this bill was supported last week, and letter of support was submitted for the hearing tomorrow. Next concerns the property tax bill. Again, to Commissioner Morgan's point, this concerns agritourism to a degree. It describes or it allows for certain types of improvements on agricultural land to to get agricultural use assessment under ESTA rather than other types of use assessments, and then includes one for agritourism. It also, interestingly, allows it to be retroactive, so anybody who was assessed last year or on last year's taxes for a non-agricultural use assessment, they can apply for a refund. So it allows those from last year to get the money that they would have otherwise gotten, so it does have the retroactive effect. And we have, there is a hearing next week on this 26th, or on the 16th. There's no MAKO position right now, but we haven't received any comments from Economic Development Commission, obviously given the short time it happened yesterday. But we do have a proposed motion for your letter of support, given the Farm Bureau's request.
For 567, I move to approve and authorize the Commissioner President to House and Senate committees for SB 567.
Second.
Discussion. Tell me, if someone's, will they dictate which are qualified? I mean, will wedding venues qualify as agricultural use?
So there are any types of improvements on agricultural land. They list value-added agricultural products like dairy.
Okay.
They list beer and wine from like a farm, not a farm brewery, yeah, kind of like a farm brewery in a way. And then lastly was agritourism. So those are the 3 that would count.
So someone has a barn, and inside of it, they turn it into a wedding venue or some kind of reception venue. It's obviously not used for agriculture.
Right.
Is that type of use the kind of use that would be permitted?
I think so, based on the definition of agritourism, I think that would count. So then they could get an
It
agricultural
just gives
use
them
out
a
of.
benefit over, say, places like Bay District Firehouse or Hollywood Firehouse who have those.
Right.
I don't know. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Is that it?
And then one final one.
Was there a motion? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you had a motion
made the
and a
motion.
second.
We had a motion and a second on, okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it.
And then finally is the right to repair farm equipment. So this is an interesting bill. It requires manufacturers of certain farm equipment to send the documentation to repair that equipment rather than just saying, oh no, we can't do that. Basically preventing them saying, oh, sorry, you have to buy a new tractor or whatever. We won't help you fix it. So this goes to authorized, not just authorized dealers, but authorized repairers and independent people. So if you have a guy that fixes your tractor or whatever, that person can go to the manufacturer, John Deere, whoever, get the stuff, hopefully, and repair it directly.
Again, as someone who's been familiar with this stuff, they used to have to require manufacturers to support whatever they built for 10 years. So if you bought something for at least 10 years, you had to be able to get a part to replace it. After that time, the manufacturer would say, we no longer support that, and then you'd be on the eBay or whatever the aftermarket is.
Right.
So, all right.
Running out of people here.
Well, I'll move to approve and authorize the Commissioner President to sign the letters of support to House and Senate Bill HB 562.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Murphy. I did want to point out, and I'm sorry to belabor this legislative update this morning, but we did find out a new one approximately at 5 o'clock yesterday, which is from Senator Sidnor, which is Senate Bill 413, which is the Voting Rights Act of 2022. I don't know if Mako's discussed that at all, but it's what the Charles County commissioners wanted to discuss tomorrow, in the joint meeting. So, Neil, if you could today
I have a copy for everybody. But
write a memo on what exactly that is and give it to the commissioners today so they.
We did discuss this at Mako last week, and quite frankly, I forgot what the opinion was at the end of the day. I think it dealt with the effect that if someone felt a group felt they were being discriminated against, they could go to the Attorney General, and the Attorney General could come back and file charges. I think that's pretty much, is that sort of it in a nutshell? Is that the right, Bill?
Yeah, my idea is that, or at least my understanding of it, and I meant to bring this up, I actually set it out specifically so I'd remember before I said thank you. So thank you, Mr. Weiskopf. But my understanding is that it may have been a result of a complaint or something, but there would be a review of the election procedures and the way that each county and municipality does their elections. So in that review, they would see if there are certain groups that are being discriminated against, as you said, or if there's a certain procedure by which may impact groups negatively in a discriminatory fashion. So that's what this bill would do. And as Mr. Weiskopf was stating, I'll write a memo.
Thank you.
I've seen the traffic or email or the stuff going around about that meeting tomorrow. I still don't know exactly what Charles County is trying to do.
I don't have the finished. Did the presidents meet and have a discussion
About this?
about tomorrow? For everybody's edification, Charles County has asked for the 3 county commissioners of Calvert, St. Mary's, and Charles to meet together to discuss areas of common interest. And it's tomorrow afternoon on a Zoom or a web or something like that. So I guess what Commissioner Hewitt's asking is, did the presidents have a chance to discuss what this is all about?
What's it about?
About which one now? I'm sorry.
The meeting tomorrow afternoon with all the 3 counties.
As I know, we have set the agenda.
Yeah.
It's a couple areas. One, Charles County wanted to discuss with St. Mary's the memorandum of understanding as it relates to mutual aid.
Yep.
Because I think a couple years ago, there was concern that Charles County and Calvert was having to respond to the north end of St. Mary's County.
Okay.
But we're now thinking, because of the MOU with Charlotte Hall and the ambulance, that will hopefully, ratchet that down. So I think that's one. Another one is they wanted to discuss legislative bills of common interest, such as the CSM proposal by Senator Ellis, and maybe this Senate Bill 413.
Animal shelter.
And we were going to discuss the animal shelter as well, where we are with that. And, because Calvert left, a couple years ago, and St. Mary's would be leaving this year as well when our animal shelter gets up and running. So those were the.
And they haven't even broke ground on theirs yet, so they're,
Charles hadn't broken
yeah,
out?
so they'll be.
And they're the ones that led the charge originally to get rid of them.
Well, they've still got the Tri-County, right?
got the one in
Well,
there.
what it is, we're funding, we're obligated to fund right now through 1 July.
All right.
So, and we're expected to open ours up by 1 July. So we got to discuss that also, what requirements we have after we leave there, if any.
I think also prior to the meeting, I asked Commissioner President Guy to explore adding suicide prevention on the agenda.
We're going to put it on the agenda, Johnson Bridge safety.
Yeah, Dr. Johnson Bridge safety, looking at methodology to, safety technology that can be used.
Sure. That we can ask the state to look at, yeah.
Yes.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Murphy.
Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. With that all said, we get right into county administrator time.
Thank you, sir. And I'll start with the draft agendas for February 15th and March 1st. Tuesday, February 15th, we'll start at 8:30 with the retirement reception for Dr. Rebecca Bridget. And then at 9 o'clock, the regular meeting with the invocation and pledge of Commissioner O'Connor, approval of the consent agenda, and there will be various proclamations and commendations for Dr. Bridget's retirement. And then at 9:30, there'll be a Department of Land Use and Growth Management public hearing to amend the comprehensive zoning ordinance for solar minor and solar major. And then Department of Public Works and Transportation request for a public hearing for the fiscal year '23 STS Annual Transportation Plan. And then at 9:55, Department of Land Use and Growth Management decision for the amendment to the comprehensive plan land use map and zoning map to change the comprehensive plan land use map category from rural preservation to residential mixed use, and zoning map from rural preservation to residential mixed use for the properties located at 23595 Pike Lane and 23556 Three Notch Road, Hollywood. And then you would also have the Department of Land Use and Growth Management decision for the same things, but the ones up in Charlotte Hall. And then the Office of the County Attorney would do legislative updates, and then County Administrator time, Commissioners time, then you would adjourn, and then you'd have a 1:30 budget work session. And then on March 1st, the invocation and pledge would be by Commissioner Morgan, have a proclamation for National Disabilities Awareness, a commendation for Harry Knight's retirement. And then we would have a morning public hearing for the Department of Finance regarding their supplemental appropriation. We'd have the St. Mary's County Board of Health, Department of Land Use, Growth Management decision for the amendment of the comprehensive zoning ordinance for solar minor and solar major, legislative updates from the Office of the County Attorney, County Administrator time, Commissioners time, and then you would have a 1:30 budget work session, and then at 6:30 that evening, you would have the Office of the County Attorney public hearing for the Police Accountability Board. And that would be the consent agenda. Moving into today's County Administrator time, then we'd have Department of Recreation and Parks fiscal year 2022 program open space, local parks and playground infrastructure replacement project application, and Mr. Art Shepard presenting.
Good morning.
Morning, Mr. Shepard.
That $1.5 million allocation had 5 projects included. 4 of them have been approved by the Maryland Department of Public Works and are moving forward within our department. However, the 5th never made it to the Department of Public Works due to that project including court improvements at St. Peter Claver Park, which is on the lease property of the Archdiocese of Washington. So in order to make this all work, it's perfect timing, actually, right here at budget time, so that the timeline will work to spend this money that's not matching grant money, which was nice, but they weren't done close to the fiscal year, is that we had the athletic field lights for Dorsey Park included in the FY23 proposed CIP budget in the parks facilities improvements. So we're moving that out and moving that into this program open space project, and then moving the court improvements into FY23 budget, and that's already been done, that you'll be seeing at your upcoming CIP meetings. So it all evens out. The timeline's perfect. We did have to use some money at the 5th District Park to make it balanced for walkways and fencing, but however, that allocation will come right back to July 1, so the timeline would just be months as far as that project when it's completed. So the good news, you're going to get athletic field lights, fencing, walkways, and court improvements, and we've all managed it to work out right here at the budget season.
Great.
So we're still getting the court improvements at Cardinal Gibbons Park?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Shepard, I'm glad you brought that, well, glad this came up today. Some people reached out to me from this pickleball group that plays over at, and hey, great, I'm glad they're playing.
Me too.
They're seniors, and their point was the Chances Run Regional Park. They play there. Now, they would like to know, can we figure out what it would cost, and I'm asking you to figure it out for a later decision, what it would cost to put lights on the pickleball court.
Okay.
Secondly, they would like a restroom facility closer. They say that sometimes when they have to go, and they have to go a long distance to get to, whether it be the Loeffler Center or, so is there the ability to maybe put something there by the pickleball courts along with lights, and also looking at some type of a small restroom facility over by the turf fields, because some people who do soccer reached out to me and mentioned the same thing. So in your travels. Can you look at that and maybe give us some presentation later on?
Sure, and since I was with the soccer leagues last night, I can speak to you that a little bit. They were, when I thought there's a possibility of doing something like that, they were very the same way. Remember with the 2 turf fields, tournaments coming in, one adjacent to the pickleball court, one down at the other end where there's no restroom, and adjacent to the playground. They wouldn't be, I'm thinking, well, one, you have water there already. You're not doing like we're doing at Chaptico right now. Perk test season's open and we're
We
working.
have sewer too, though.
Yes, water and sewer, all that's there, so we can get that done, and we just won't make them as big as what we've had at the other sites. And so we're looking into the pricing, the whole works, because the leagues are asking for that as well. And then just to back up your other one.
Two of the ladies that reached out to me, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, what they both said was, look, put in one handicap one, just something for us when we, have that urge to go, we can go in.
Yep.
We don't need a men, women, this, that, something.
You got it. That's what we're
Universal
looking.
one. There
And
you
then we're also looking, and I'll just give you an idea that we just did we're putting the lights in at Cecil Park on those 4 tennis courts. That's about 210. So it'll be less on the pickleball courts, smaller, but it just giving you an idea what it'll take to do that. And I'll start looking for that in our CIP time. Okay?
Hey, sounds really good, yeah.
All right. Well, I'll move to approve the program open space, local parks and playgrounds infrastructure funding development application for the athletic field lights project Dorsey Park, and authorize the commissioner president to sign all related documents.
Second.
I have a first and second, all in favor? Aye. Any disapprovals? Ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Shepard. Next, from the Office of the County Attorney, the Youth Advisory Committee, and Ms. Lori Jennings Harris has been patiently waiting on Zoom for this one, as well as Ms. Cynthia Brown is in the audience as well.
So this is my final one for this morning. Again, first, before I begin, I'd like to thank everybody who's been a member of the Youth Advisory Commission. I know we thanked those from last year, but the years prior as well, notwithstanding why I'm here this morning. So the Youth Advisory Commission was formed in 2018. Almost 6 months later, we began having recruitment issues to reduce. So 6 months later, in April of 2019, there was a resolution to reduce the age requirements to maybe open it up and fill the numbers to increase applicants. 6 months after that, or 8 months after that, they did another resolution for similar purposes to try and increase recruitment. And this situation has been ongoing almost since the beginning of the Youth Advisory Commission. In June 2021, one voting member and one non-voting member were appointed, but they were only, notwithstanding all the changes that were made, and this is an unfortunate reality, is that they were only able to meet twice due to lack of a quorum. Last year, or actually 2 years ago in June 2020, the commissioners met and discussed the possibility of disbanding or dissolving the Youth Advisory Commission, given the efforts that have been done over the past, now it's been 4 years, to try and increase recruitment and attendance. But we come to this point when unfortunately it doesn't seem to be working. Notwithstanding the amazing efforts of those who have participated over the past 4 years. So due to the inability to recruit members and even obtain a quorum for those members that we do have, we're seeking to dissolve or repeal the resolution that established this, and also dissolve the Youth Advisory Commission.
Do you say in 2021 they only met 2 times successful?
That's exactly right,
All of
because of a
21.
lack of a quorum. That's right. And I do have one change on the resolution itself. It's not really substantive given the content of it, but it says for the purpose of repealing and reestablishing the St. Mary's County. It should say for the purpose of repealing and dissolving. So my apologies.
I move to repeal Resolution 2020-33 and dissolve the St. Mary's County Youth Advisory Committee with the changes to the resolution addressed previously.
Second with discussion. This is a hard one for me. It took me and the board 3 years or so to get the Youth Advisory Committee formed, only after a lot of people were saying we need it, and then only after a short period of time and duration that we have to cancel because of lack of participation. So I want to thank the board for backing the original intent. Just sorry it didn't work out.
Well, you know, I had some input with some young people who were on that board early on when it first got established. And I remember a lady named Cora Lee, I can't remember her last name, but her point was, she was actually one of the young women from the Women's Commission that was nominated. And her point was they never really understood what they were supposed to do. And I remember there was an adult, she's a lawyer, I can't remember her name, in Leonardtown, who was part of that board and said, you should invite us there so we can tell you what we think would be a good thing for you to do. And I was surprised that she never did. She never did get a commissioner or any of us to give them some input. And honestly, it's just seems like it's going to fail, it's going to fail. But it is. We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, motion and a second, all in favor? Oh, Cynthia, please. Yes, you may, please. I apologize.
Yeah. Seeing how you've been here.
Thank you, Commissioners, for this opportunity to speak briefly. Having been someone who has worked closely with the commission, and then Kelsey Bush, he was really instrumental in getting the commission established as well. I just want to say that I agree with Commissioner Morgan. This is definitely difficult. And while we have not been able to establish quorum, not having the numbers there, I just want to make sure that you're aware that there have been some members, some youth, who really are committed to the work of the council. And so I would like to move forward with giving youth an opportunity to participate on some of our other boards and commissions that are already established. The Commission for Women is one, Human Relations Commission. Those are the types of boards where we really need the voice of youth. And just because this one is not working out today, you know, I certainly don't want to give the impression that there's not a place for youth in county government. There clearly is. So maybe having them come on and work with other adults, you know, might be a good way to guide them into perhaps revisiting a youth council at some point, if that's...
I think that's a great idea. It's important to note that all of our boards and commissions are open meetings so that anyone can attend and be a part of them. They might not be an official member, but if there's youth that really want to be a part of it, definitely, I think that's good. Thank you.
And Commissioner Hewitt, you had mentioned you were trying to think of the name of the lawyer.
Yeah.
Yes, Marsha Williams.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh, yes,
yes, she was fantastic. She was an awesome youth advisor. And I believe after her term was completed, there were some efforts to try to schedule time for the commissioners to come and present to the Youth Advisory Council. But at that time, we were having the problem with getting the quorum. And so the meetings did not happen. But the effort was there.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have Lori Jennings Harris on if she wants to say anything as well.
Jane Harris, you want to say anything?
I think Cynthia covered it pretty well.
Oh, perfect. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know
sorry.
if you all can hear me. I'm having some difficulty.
Yep, you're fine now.
But I disagree with the presentation by Neil. Thank you, Neil, and the comments from Ms. Brown. And definitely for me as well, this is a difficult one. But hopefully we can engage the youth in some other ways in St. Mary's County government. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Very good. Yeah. Okay, do we have a motion?
We had a motion and a
A
second.
second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Well,
Thank you all. Thank you, Ms. Murphy, very much for your
Thank you. My
presentation
pleasure.
today.
Thank you, Commissioners, and that concludes County Administrator time.
Hey, we go right into Commissioner's time, and we'll start with this, Commissioner Morgan. We'll start with you today.
Thank you, Mr. President. A lot of the meeting today was about all these bills in Annapolis. And quite frankly, when I look at the list the other night, I think there's over 400 in the House and 450 in the Senate. So thank Neil and John and Dave for their diligence watching over it, because Randy and I have been enjoying, 2 hours on Mondays and 3 hours on Wednesdays while we discuss all this stuff with everybody across the state. And it has been a little bit more contentious this year than in others because, you know, there's a lot of issues out there at the state level that, you know, the rural counties are on one side and the urban counties are on the other. So it's made for some, I use the word, some healthy discussions amongst all of us along the way. This weekend, again, and I want to thank the commissioners for all discussing this earlier, that we've had another person jump off the bridge. And tragically, you know, they died. And it was a very windy day, so I had the police officers down my street looking in case the body would wash up. But we have a problem. And I think it's not only a mental health problem, but it's a safety issue. So I did discuss this with Secretary Powell over the weekend. And I did bring it up to Secretary Weems and Hart, since the bridge does cross both sides. So I want to thank all the commissioners for at least making an attempt to bring this to a discussion tomorrow when the 3 counties meet together, because I have no idea what the implications are for the new nice Middleton Bridge, but we know that the Johnson Bridge is definitely one that's in everybody's eyesights right now. And, you know, these tragedies are occurring at a more frequent level, and how and what we can do will, I guess, remain to be seen. That's why I said this commissioners to have discussions about it, but it is a state bridge, so, you know, we're going to have to look for some state support along the way. There's probably a few other things going on, but nothing really that's that pressing. But I do want to wish everybody out there, because we won't meet till next Tuesday, happy Valentine's Day next Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. For those that don't know, the commissioners receive critical incident notifications for major events that go on in the county. It's a certain classification, and receive the notification for the most recent suicide from the bridge where a person jumped. And I had already been looking into, you know, what ways can we intervene? And we know that, you know, when somebody has reached that point and they're already there, that getting public safety there to intervene is difficult. It takes time to get them there to intervene. The videos that you see online where there's a police officer, in fact, there is a DNR officer that I believe he's credited with saving 2 or 3 lives from people jumping. He was at the right place at the right time to take those critical steps and intervene. Those people are fortunate, their families are fortunate that that particular officer was there. Unfortunately, being at the right place at the right time is just not enough. I spoke with Commissioner Morgan this weekend after I sent an email to set up a conversation with MDOT and talk about what can we do to put other safety mechanisms in place immediately, if possible, not talk. No, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And you know, Commissioner Morgan said he was going to reach out and have some conversations with some other people and start this ball rolling on his end. But there are safety devices used throughout the United States. New York, San Francisco, they have special nets that can go there. They tangle you up. There's fencing that can be put up. Something to give our first responders time to get there. Something to give somebody pause to think twice. It may change the venue of where it happens or how it happens. Somebody that has made that decision, it is sometimes difficult to walk back. So I just feel we have a responsibility to not just talk about it, not just say 22 a day, and take some action. You know, lost somebody that I knew just last week to suicide, you know, a veteran. So it is something that is profound that we need to focus on more, and we need to focus on mental health and our crisis intervention and reaching out to these people, but also putting mechanisms in place that can hopefully delay the inevitable until our first responders can get there, or there can be some sort of intervention. So that's why I asked Commissioner President Guy to put it on the agenda for the Thomas Johnson Bridge safety. I hope that this conversation starts a larger conversation throughout the state where we're looking, at the nice bridge, as Commissioner Morgan put out. Yeah, what are we doing there? What steps are we taking? Because all that happens when you prevent something one place is that you displace it to another. So we have to look at the bigger picture and how we can go ahead and try and, I'd love to eliminate suicide. We all know that that is probably near impossible, but whatever we can do to step in there. Mr. President, when a while ago I had filed for office and you filed, and out of phone calls from the public and a dear amount of respect for working with you, I decided that it was best to run for my seat. And that's through working with you for 7 to 8 years, sitting in these meetings, your ability to navigate the meetings. And earlier, I would like to apologize for breaking the decorum of your meeting and having you use that gavel. Unfortunately, over the last several years, my wife has been the subject of multiple attacks politically. And rather than people facing it and putting their name on the line, other individuals working on their behalf have put many challenges in the way. And she served this county for 22 years with integrity, and she's worked very hard. And I've never been shy about my wife being a deputy or me being a law enforcement officer. It's on my ethics disclosure. So at year 8, unfortunately, I got my childhood hooked, as my dad would say, from old New York. But it's one of those that sometimes it gets too close to your family, and the family is not involved in this portion of it. So with that being said, I will take any censure that you may feel necessary to apply to me, and I apologize for interrupting the decorum of your meeting.
Accepted.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
You got it.
So, thank you. I just want to echo the other commissioners' comments about the tragic loss of life, the suicides that have been happening from the bridge. It's good that we're talking about it because it's not easy for anyone, and it's not easy to see this happening in our community. I think this is one of the reasons that this board has been very supportive of the behavioral health hub that's being built, because there's a need for it. So for anyone out there, if you are experiencing feelings of depression or hopelessness, talk to someone who can help. The number 800-273-8255 is the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Call them if you need to. There's no shame in making that call. It is a good thing. And in coming in July, you'll be able to text 988. And I think it'll be rolled out nationwide that you can just text 988 to get help that you need. And that's a good thing. But I hope that we can continue to hold on to these feelings and push forward to be able to help those that need help. Shifting gears, Commissioner Morgan didn't do it, so I want to give a brief sports update. And congratulations to my friend, Coach Alex Marley, and the Leonardtown High School swim team. Both the girls and the boys are the SMAC champs, so congratulations to them. Tomorrow afternoon, we talked about it already, tomorrow afternoon at 4:30, we're having a joint meeting with all of the Southern Maryland commissioners. You can watch it. We're all going to be virtual for it, but you can watch it through YouTube, Channel 95. Hopefully it'll be an interesting and productive meeting. And finally, Super Bowl this weekend. Be safe, don't drink and drive, and go Rams. Thank you all.
Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Just for the record, go Bengals.
Oh! Whoa.
Anyway.
Mike, you got it.
As you probably noticed today, we're not wearing masks. The governor rescinded the mask mandate for state buildings, and as St. Mary's County does, we follow the governor, and we rescinded it for county buildings. Doesn't mean you shouldn't wear one. If you think you should, please do. But it is about free choice, and those of us who believe we don't need one, who've been vaccinated, been boosted, done everything we can to keep ourselves socially distanced, it's something we've done. So you may notice today we're not wearing masks. Next is about what I call constituent services. It's the best part of this job. People call you up because they don't know who to call, and or they'll email you because they don't know who to email, and they'll tell you about, well, the pickleball courts, you know. And there was a couple of senior citizens, ladies, very nice people. They were telling me about how they could really use some lights so they could play later. They would like to play later. They believe it's, you know, in the summertime it does stay late longer, but they enjoy playing pickleball. And they think the demand for the courts would allow more people to play. So it's a good, it's good constituent service to get involved with, but it's good that constituents know they can input with our county government. Now, another one I got was a couple of people called me about, honestly, I was going into a county road. It's a narrow road. Now, many of us know we have many narrow county roads that somehow pass adequate public facilities, and sometimes you can't get two cars past each other. Someone has to pull over to let the other person by. Well, in this case, the two cars were sitting there at the stop sign, just parked in the road. And I walked over and said, is there a reason why you're parking right here? They said, well, we're waiting for the school bus. So I said, well, what's the deal? They said, well, the BOE has a policy of if your child is in middle school and you live half a mile, or they can walk half a mile. And the point is that elementary school, the bus comes in, there's plenty of turnaround, drops the kids off at the end of the road, and we'd like that to happen with BOE. Now, of course, I said, as a commissioner, that's BOE policy. But the key is that what we do with county government is we allow roads that are not passable by two cars unless one has to pull over, and God forbid they meet a emergency vehicle, whether it be a school bus going in and an ambulance coming out, or a gas truck, propane truck coming in, and a minivan coming out. It's not safe. And secondly, there's no sidewalks. So I reached out to the Board of Ed, Ms. Bailey, the chairperson, and asked her to look at that. I mean, I understand if it's wide enough and you have sidewalks and you're in subdivisions or areas where you have that infrastructure. But where you don't, it doesn't make sense that kids in middle school and high school have to walk so far. So again, thank you for reaching out. That's constituent services. Now, the bridge, Lord knows, we've been dealing with suicides for so long. But the good news is we have heard that the state is looking at this. We do know that our local delegation has reached out to MDOT to do whatever we can find out. And honestly, I've been on the Golden Gate Bridge, and as stated, it does have nets and things to help, but also has a telephone there that said, if you've got to this point, please pick up this phone and call us. But whatever we can do to prevent suicides is great. Lastly, it's kind of on a somber note, is last week we reported $17 million in accounts receivable for EMS billing. It was a mistake. I mean, to have that kind of billing, we would have had to been doing 4,000 calls a month, probably close to 150 calls a day, every day. It just wasn't reasonable. It just seems like someone should have looked at that and said, this number is not reasonable. And of course, it ended up in the paper, it ended up in the internet. It was a mistake, and it's something we should avoid, because as everybody knows, it got us all concerned about that. And look, you deserve accurate reporting. So let's hope we learn lessons from this and we come back with more accurate information. Thank you.
Thank you. Now for Commissioner Randy Guys. First, I want to pass on some information about the women's organization we have in the county here. And the St. Mary's County Commission of Women is having a Women of the Year and Tomorrow's Woman. And unfortunately, as of yesterday, they've only gotten one nomination. Now, I understand there's a problem with, with COVID and everything else, but there's got to be a lot of women out there that do great volunteer service to our community. So I'm asking you to look at your organization, look around your neighborhood. It doesn't matter who you may be. Please send some nominations in. All you got to do is go to www.stmarysmaryland.com, and you can go to the Asian Division. They have applications on there. Exactly how you do it. It only takes 1 or 2 paragraphs to recognize these individuals, and they're looking for nominations. The closeout is 21 February. It's only less than about a week and a half away. So they're starving for nominations. This is very important. It celebrates the, you might say, the Women of the Year History Month, and it's going to be in March. And the final symposium is on March 24th at 2022 at 6 p.m. So please, if you got someone to nominate, doesn't matter. You may think this, you got somebody who's been working hard within your organization or does multiple things, please submit them. And we need some nominations now. So please go to our website or go to www.stmarysmaryland.com/aging/Women History Month/event. And you'll go right to the application, okay? But it's on our website in the county, so you can go to it right now. I appreciate it. Next thing is, I know we got a mandate not to wear a mask anymore. We follow the government proposal, but I tell everybody that if you haven't been vaccinated, you probably should. But I think it's getting to a point now, those who didn't get vaccinated probably won't. But I advise you to wear a mask. I've gotten used to it, and if I feel uncomfortable in certain situations, I put my mask on. I carry one with me all the time. So please use your own discretion on doing this. Next, like we talked about these legislative bills, even last night we heard over 30 bills that the Rural Coalition went through over an hour of discussing things that impacted, we felt impacted rural counties. And we're constantly monitoring these things, and it's taken a lot of myself and Morgan, Commissioner Morgan's time to go through this. And it's important that we do this every year. I've been doing it ever since I've been Commissioner President, and it's valuable that anything that affects St. Mary's County, we somehow put something on there, either opposing it or put a rider on it if it's support everywhere else. Unfortunately, a lot of these bills are supported by the urban counties, but we do our best to put riders on there or some kind of supplement to support our county. So that's why we spent so much time doing this today. Also, talking about pickleball court, I just happened to be on ESPN the other day, and they had the pickleball national championships. I was shocked. I didn't know pickleball was that popular, but I had to watch it for a while. And of course, these people were serious about playing pickleball. It was really something to watch. So I did so. So it is a serious thing. It's now got national recognition and championships and everything. So please do that. Getting to the, unfortunately, our bridge out here, we've had 3 tragic losses recently, and something's got to be done. I'm hoping that we can continue as a county and our neighboring counties putting pressure on MDOT, the Maryland Department of Transportation, to do something to try to not only prevent, but at least stem the tide of these. It's a terrible thing, and we need to stop that. I tell people out there, if you got any kind of problem, please try to contact somebody and get yourself in a safety program. With that being said, I need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved for the purpose of discussing personnel.
Second.
Our first, second, all in favor? Aye. So move, take about 2 minutes.